Who needed property rights anyways? So if you haven't noticed, there's been several issues going on lately talking about squatters' rights. And especially in New York, you may have seen the news story where a woman got arrested for changing the locks on her parents' house, which her parents had died. Her mother had died, passed to her. She went there and squatters were living there. Got the squatters pulled out. She was told if she changed the locks, then she would be arrested. Well, she changed the locks, the squatters came back, broke in, and instead of the squatters being removed, she was arrested because New York has decided that they are so intent on protecting tenants from landlords that if you live in a space for more than 30 days, you have tenant rights. Now, it's come out that one of these squatters was actually renting a room to somebody else, as well as the neighbors are complaining that there's a bunch of work going on inside the house. It gets better because now several vigilantes have stopped by just to have a conversation with the guy. This gets worse because this isn't an isolated case. Recently, there was a Twitter video that went out by an illegal immigrant. He's speaking in Spanish, telling people about these laws that protect squatters going into empty houses, and says he's got African friends who have done it to 7 houses already. He's talking about repairing them and selling them, a business venture. This is private property destroyed. You could say that that's kind of the goal. If you've looked at the process, especially over the past decade to 2 decades, there's been this slow erasure of you protecting your property. And we've all heard those crazy stories of a guy robbing a house and slips and falls on something and sues the homeowners and blah, blah, blah. And couple this with all the stuff that's going on in terms of bail reform, where people who had human body parts and blood in the drains were let go because we can't possibly try to make them pay bail. I don't want to say it's a concerted effort. I don't want to say it's an agenda. I don't want to say it's an overarching plan. But it is the sum of ideas and beliefs that are antithetical to what America was founded on. And when we look at what America was founded on, the whole concept was the value of private property and protecting individual rights, protecting property rights. The original language of the Declaration of Independence was life, liberty, and property. Now, they changed it because they didn't want to give an opening for people to say that slaves were property, so they changed it to pursuit of happiness. But when you look at how things were structured, how the founders envisioned the new land, they saw it as private property. We are watching this idea move forward. And Karl Marx himself said the theory of communism can be summed up in a single sentence: the abolishment of private property. Now, I'm not saying that this is a direct communist movement, but all of these ideas, these beliefs, are Marxist in nature, and we may have to call it some neo-Marxism, Western Marxism, or a new Western Marxism. I don't know. You guys come up with the name. But this will not end. It will only get worse. And so what you need to do now is you need to start talking to your local officials and say, what are the laws and what rights do we have as property owners? Because you're going to watch the whole, and this is an attack that communists will make. Landlording is especially considered heinous to the Marxists. They hate the idea. And notice that it's becoming unbearable to be a landlord, to own multiple properties, to own properties and rent them out, because now all of a sudden you don't have any rights. As soon as you allow somebody else into that home, it's theirs, give or take. And you have to go through the legal system for months, if not years, in order to get the person evicted. Yet, there seems to be some semblance of ownership if you just step foot in the property. Now, on an unrelated note, Baltimore is looking at selling vacant properties for $1. So why don't all of the squatters go there? because it's not nice enough. It's not something somebody else has made and fashioned, somebody else owns. We are slipping. We're heading crashing headfirst into this stuff. And I highly encourage you to be checking out your local laws, checking out your state laws in terms of what squatters' rights are there, and then be getting a hold of your representatives in order to try and change that stuff. And frankly, I can't help but step by, cross my arms, and say, well, you are going to see vigilantism blow up. It's a sad state of affairs, but people do not feel protected by their police officers. And this is to the police officers. Look, if you want to have some semblance of trust with your established community, you don't have to arrest the old lady for changing the locks. You don't have to do that. You could know what's right and turn the other way. But the problem is we have a lot of people who are cowards in that sense. They just go, I'll just go along. Border Patrol agents. Why are so many of them? Well, I'm just following orders. That's how things fall apart, is when people just follow orders because they're afraid of standing for what's right.